Streaming live. Here we go. Lisa, you can go. We're live.
Fantastic. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to have Guenter Gebhard from Four Seasons Riyadh with us today. So we just like to share some ideas, hear about the state of the market, learn a bit more about the hotel. So it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's kick off with, within your regional responsibility, what sets the hotel sector in KSA apart from other markets, in your opinion?
Well, Saudi Arabia is quite a challenging yet a very dynamic market, and it remains one of the most competitive markets in the hospitality industry in the region. As diversification efforts, social reforms, and also government-led investments, particularly in infrastructure and entertainment, make the tourism sector really come online, which is something that is quite new because it hasn't been there. I mean, the tourism sector really only started up maybe 5 years ago with their first initiatives.
Right.
And then thanks to development projects and its decision to release non-touristic visas, Saudi Arabia tourism will probably become a significant player in the Middle East market. And it will therefore also pose a competition to some other areas, such as the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We also see some investors recognizing that the UAE has become a slightly saturated market on hotel development because it has pushed so hard over the last couple of years, and a decade actually. And therefore moving some of these investments into the tourism sector more into Saudi Arabia as well, because there's just more opportunity at the moment.
Right. Well, that makes absolute sense. So talk to us a bit about the type of travelers who are currently coming to KSA, staying at your property, and what you're forecasting. Obviously, you have Vision 2030, and that's going to change things quite a lot. So would you mind telling us, sorry, that's quite a big question, but who's coming now? And, yeah, who's coming now, and who are you expecting in the future?
Let's backtrack slightly and maybe a little bit pre-COVID, because this is where we could already see some of the changes, particularly in the tourism sector. Naturally, Saudi Arabia, and particularly Riyadh, was 85-90% corporate and government collaboration, some hotels at 90-95% of that. Once the non-touristic visa started, and even slightly before that, we could already see there was a general interest to see what is the Saudi culture about and what are the things that are unique about the country. So we could see pickups of group travel, even female group travel as single females coming to Saudi Arabia. This has expanded further. During the COVID period and now, we're still more probably into a domestic business travel with tourism from domestic, which is also quite unique. We would normally not have over the weekends 80-90% occupancy driven by staycations because travel restrictions for some people were still in place. Now going forward, we're certainly looking at a much more expanded tourism contribution from outside the country. If you look at just Saudi sports events, Formula One, Formula E, these are high drivers that tend to invite luxury travelers pretty much from around the globe. And that's really what we're looking forward to do. So whereas we may be moving away from a 90% corporate and government business, more maybe into a 60% corporate government and add that tourism component on top of that.
Very interesting. So now in terms of the Four Seasons, how is the hotel aligning its vision with that of the big vision of KSA to double the number of hotel rooms? That's what I understand is anticipated, yes, or is planned. So how are you accommodating that?
The vision of Saudi Arabia for 2030 is certainly a very bold and an achievable transformation for a nation. We have to also see This is a country that has 33 million citizens and residents in the country. If we compare that to other countries within the GCC, that is sometimes 3, 4, 5 times, or on smaller ones, 10 times the amount that what others carry. So there is a lot of movement that can actually be done from within the country in order to develop the vision and really drive the vision. For us, we have this vision document for the hotel very clearly laid out, and also for Four Seasons. So from a perspective of Four Seasons Riyadh, we're participating very strongly in the transformation and the metamorphosis of bringing in tourism travel into the country. Our advertising, our marketing budgets, our social media presences all drive what is unique about Saudi Arabia. That is quite a change to what it was before. As a brand, we're also having expansions throughout the kingdom. There are several developments that are going on at the moment. We're having developments in the holy city of Mecca. We're working there with Jabal Omar Development Company, and we're looking there to provide a luxury option for Hajj Umrah, as well as Ramadan pilgrims that are traveling. The location there will be next to the Grand Mosque with a direct access and unconstructed views of the Haram. Then we also have the property in Jeddah. There's actually 2 properties. One is on the Corniche and one is in Jeddah Tower. The one on Jeddah Tower is a 34-story 5-star hotel with 275 rooms and then additional serviced and branded apartments. And the hotel on the Corniche is a compromising of apartments as well as villas, pretty much within the city center. So there is other development certainly going on that will make the news hopefully quite soon. But we're certainly planning to assist on that footprint expansion that is so clearly laid out in that Vision 2030, and to see that Four Seasons is a strong driver behind luxury hospitality in the country.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds as though you'll be adding a lot of keys to your inventory. So that's certainly something we're going to be keeping an eye on. In terms of KSA's strategic location as a hub connecting the continents, how do you believe that influences the tourism sector?
Saudi Arabia has a geographical advantage because it's located pretty much at the intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa. That's definitely something that some of the other GCC countries have just as much capitalized on. Particularly through the air travel corridor that is leading through this area, basically connecting Asia Pacific regions with European regions. One of the strongest aspects of Saudi tourism is the authenticity available through its variety of culture heritage. Saudi Arabia, because it is such a historical country and has actual spots to display its culture and display its heritage through UNESCO recognized 5 cultural spots, I think makes a very big difference in how we can attract more tourism, how to expand on the understanding of where Saudi Arabian culture comes from. And then scattered throughout the desert are some of the remains of the cities from thousands of years ago, with detailed engravings, entryways preserved in desert rocks. Al-Ula, for example, is one of the big pieces to that puzzle. I've been to Al-Ula 2 months ago, and it's stunning. It is really a very unique site, and I think there is more of these natural developments coming that is going to be very interesting for tourists to see. The holy cities of Mecca and Medina, which are located in the western region, these are homes to the 2 of the important mosques of the Islamic world. Religious travel and pilgrimage is a large part of what drives Saudi tourism at this stage, and it will probably expand over the coming years as we see that the development on additional hotels in that area is going as strong as in the rest of the country.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you've touched upon those things, because I think that a lot of the time we somewhat underestimate, or we're not aware of the wealth of historical sites and these kinds of things that exist in KSA. And it will be wonderful for us to be able to, with the the fact that visas are becoming easier to obtain, I think that it will be very much the case that more tourists will be able to see these sites that you're referring to. So, Guenter, what do you think that the hospitality sector can do? I'm talking more in a kind of a broader scale. What can the sector do to guarantee a speedy recovery?
That's a very good question. And I think everybody wishes to have the crystal ball with the perfect answer.
You might have it.
And I'm still looking. I'm looking every day in my office closets if there is one of these crystal balls.
Let us know.
And then that's the solution. Yeah, I'll let you know. Certainly, the COVID-19 crisis impacted the hospitality, particularly the hospitality sector, in an unprecedented manner, and it is a lasting manner because I call hospitality a little bit the human trifecta. We're humans dealing with humans for humans. So we have 3 times the weakest link, but also the best link. So in terms of that, the impact was very strong because of the restrictions of human interaction and people to people made it very difficult for the tourism as well as the hospitality, i.e. restaurants or bars, to really recover quickly, whereas other industries could do this on a much easier and in a much more profound, faster way than we could. We have to rely on changing regulations in countries. Every country right now is on a different regulation. I traveled a few weeks ago, and it is, you have to adjust to every country. There is no standardization going on, which makes it even more difficult. But tourism is also undeniably a priority for the kingdom. And the hospitality market's recovery depends on the rollout of the vaccines to restore the travel and the guest confidence. And that will likely accelerate with the completion of major announced leisure and entertainment projects that come in the kingdom. For example, we have Riyadh season coming, which is a very big development in Riyadh itself. It compromises out of 7, 8 different areas between a winter wonderland, 2 restaurant areas with 30 different concepts, driving very strong domestic, but also international at that time, particularly the GCC. The key to long-term recovery will ultimately be using the culture and the values of hospitality combined with innovation, entrepreneurial flair, and some flexibility in resetting, redesigning, and reimagining the industry and the hospitality industry for post-COVID-19. None of us have the perfect answer today. We are working particularly in Four Seasons, for example, with Johns Hopkins, probably one of the most dominant names in COVID evaluations. And they basically worked with us on making sure that our rules that we have around this work and that they can be applied in any government situation. So it just is really requiring flexibility and being ready and mobile and energized to see what's coming next, how to deal with it, and how to make it better.
Right, and so that leads me to the question of how do you perceive or envisage the new normal? Another tough question.
The new normal. I know that's the second crystal ball. I think the first question always is what does it mean, no normal? And I think that societies and people have gone through new normal many times. This is probably maybe for this generation the last, and most likely the next coming, the highest impact one that anybody will live through. So the new normal is more or less waiting for the pandemic to subside and the recovery to take hold. We can see around the globe that certain countries have fared better initially and then have been distracted. Others have fared poorly but have recovered very well. You know, there's plenty of context around that. We certainly all hope that the normal comes back into an area as close to the old normal as we can possibly imagine. How can we help to protect our guests while also increasing convenience and personalizations of their stay is a big aspect for us. Four Seasons is very much about service. It's about knowing our guests extremely well and how can we make their stay as comfortable and from our side predict what is going to happen in the best way, shape, and form. And that requires our teams, our people that work with us, looking after our guests and hosting our guests to really be even more on their toes and more involved with the guest, more listening and building actions around that.
I think we have a bit more time, Jumana, so maybe we can chat a little bit more about the Four Seasons, because, you know, obviously it's a very interesting property. What are the, you know, what features make your property stand out compared to others that are available in the area?
Sure.
And yeah.
Four Seasons Riyadh in particular is in an iconic building. It's in Kingdom Tower. The tower is seen on many advertisements, many pictures around the world from many other companies other than Four Seasons that write or showcase anything about Riyadh. That also manifests its destination in the city, its location, and its accessibility from a city center point of view, connecting into King Abdullah Financial, to connect into any highway or fast track connections that are required to get to any business center that is in Riyadh. The hotel undergoes a renovation at the moment. We have completed about 70% of our rooms, with the remaining 30 to be returned over the next 90 to 120 days at the very latest. And we'll continue with updating and renovating the property. We'll looking at F&B concepts, and the next one will actually be the lobby, as well as the reception, lobby bar, and to really bring the property into the 21st and 22nd century, to make sure that not just on a touch and feel on what is your bed, what is your couch, but also technology-wise, upgrading TV services, internet services, which today broadband access on a high speed is almost like having water in the room. If that doesn't work, a business traveler is not that happy when calling the reception why his Wi-Fi is not working well. And hotels need to be ready for this. We have seen certainly some challenges over the COVID period when everything moved into Zoom, Teams, or any one of the other platforms that are getting used for communications today. But yeah, it was a piece to master, and it will continue to be one to further drive forward.
Well, it was the first thing when I visited Riyadh 11 years ago. That was the place that would mean, I mean, look at Riyadh, it would be go to the Four Seasons. It was an iconic place to visit. It's like really the place to visit when you go to Riyadh, right? That's the first thing you do. So, yeah.
A landmark.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Guenter, I have a couple of other just questions to ask you as the senior general manager of the property. You mentioned COVID. What was the greatest challenge that you faced as a hotel during that period?
The greatest challenge probably will always be to look after your people, particularly when it comes to health and safety. And then people, I mean guests as much as I mean our own colleagues that are working for us. The health and safety for guests and colleagues is the most dominant piece in our care and what we need to be looking after. And to sometimes you need to make hard decisions that are not always popular, but at the end, they keep people safe. And that probably was the hardest time over those past 18 to 19 months.
Well, we heard that your team won some gold medals yesterday, so at the Oreca show. And we would like to congratulate you that. So that means keep on the good work, and this is amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being with us. I think we covered all the topics.
Welcome.
If there's anything you would like to add before we wrap up.
Thank you very much for your time, and all the best with your continued interviews. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Guenter.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to chat. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.